Hey, Rick McBride here with your Property Masters team. Today is Friday the 13th. Ooh, I don't know about you guys, but when I was growing up, Friday the 13th was terrorizing. We had Jason going around stabbing everybody. But I just thought, being Friday the 13th, let's have a little fun today rather than boring real estate stuff. So here are some little research on the internet found from the Telegraph in London. Some pretty cool facts about Friday the 13th. First of all, it is considered one of the most unlucky days, but is that actually true? If you think that it's one of the most unlucky days, you're not alone. They actually have a word for it. Don't even try, but here we go. Paraskavedekatriaphobia. I have no idea. Basically, it is the fear of Friday the 13th. One option, and what people do, is to stay in bed. But one guy in London stayed in bed all night. Actually, it was in New York. Stayed in bed all night, and the floor of his apartment collapsed, and he died. So you're not safe staying in bed. How about that guy? I don't think it happened on Friday the 13th, but how about that guy who had the sinkhole in Florida? Sucked him down. So Friday the 13th, get out there and have some fun with it. The biggest fear of Friday the 13th, the biggest fear you should have is fearing Friday the 13th. That creates all the phobia and all the bad things that actually happen to you. Where did it start? Well, they say it has biblical origins because it was the day, supposedly, on which Eve bit into the apple from the tree of knowledge. It's the day the Great Flood began, and it's also the builders of the Tower of Babel. In the New Testament, there were 13 people present for Jesus' Last Supper on Maundy Thursday, the day before his execution on Good Friday. That's most sources I found say that that's the reason for Friday the 13th right there. On Friday the 13th in 1307, Philip IV of France arrested hundreds of Knights of Templar. And in his novel The Da Vinci Code, Dan Brown cites the 14th century execution of Templar Grand Master Jacques de Molay, which took place on Friday the 13th. He cursed the Pope and the King of France and spread misfortune down the ages. In 1907, Thomas Larson had a popular novel called Friday the 13th, and in that, an unscrupulous stockbroker takes advantage of the superstition to create Wall Street panic on Friday the 13th. That's probably one of the main reasons here in America that we fear Friday the 13th. Always follow the money. That's one of my favorite sayings. Always follow the money. It leads to the truth. Basically, I'm going to skip over this page. In numerology, 13 is considered an irregular number, and it's also the number of witches you need to form a coven. In 14th century, Geoffrey Chaucer referred to Friday as being an unlucky day in his Canterbury Tales, and on Friday fell all this mischance. And then the apostle that betrayed Jesus, Judas, he is considered the 13th apostle. So lots of bad luck around 13. Alright. I don't know if you knew this, if you ever noticed, but those of us who grew up in cities know, very rarely does a building have a 13th floor. It goes from 12 to 14. So if you're on the 14th floor, well, you're really on the 13th floor anyway, but they don't call it the 13th floor. And there's many houses that aren't numbered the 13th. You also can get good deals on the 13th. Nobody wants to get married on the 13th. So you can get a great deal if you do your wedding on the 13th. On the 13th of 1940, Buckingham Palace was hit by 5 German bombs. And the number of property transactions actually go down on the 13th. So if you want to make an offer today on a property, it's a pretty good day to do it. You have less competition. The cost of airfare actually goes down on Friday the 13th. Nobody wants to fly on Friday the 13th. But for me, what I say, hey, Friday the 13th is a great day. Because you know what follows Friday the 13th? Saturday the 14th. And we got a weekend. Couple other cool things. One last thing. This is funny. The Hollywood sign originally read Hollywoodland. I didn't know that. And it was unveiled on Friday the 13th, July 1923. Take that for what it's worth. Hey, we had some fun this week. Learned a lot about real estate. We'll be back next week, starting Monday, 10:30, every day. If you need any, if you're trying to sell your business or your property, give us a call. Shoot us a text, 386-866-1007. Have an amazing weekend. Oh, and happy birthday to Aiden. My son turned 12 today.